Yellowstone's volcano, Kate's Law, sanctuary cities, tweets, and what is CNN's deal with Russia, Russia, Russia? Hello, I'm Ricky Baker, and today on Revelation in the News, we are going to be covering some pressing issues happening now. Hello, my name is Ricky Baker, and this is Revelation in the News. Today, before we jump right into our headlines, I'm going to introduce our co-host. To my left, we have Esther Flax and John Woodall, and to my right, we have Cora Curzan and James Chapman. Today, our first topic is going to be Yellowstone. John Woodall, what is happening right now at Yellowstone?
Well, Yellowstone has always been like a major subject of conversation due to, it attracts so many people from all over the world to go and visit, to see the sites there. But right now, we're seeing that the earthquakes are reaching almost 900 right now. 900 earthquakes within like 2 weeks.
So they know it is an earthquake hub and it is also a super volcano. What do you think it is that attracts people? Is it just the scenery, or is it just... What is it that people still want to go there?
It's the scenery. I think it's the thrill of going to a place that, one day that may not exist.
Yeah.
And right now, a lot of people are talking about the fear of a major earthquake. One day the big one is going to strike. That could be Yellowstone National Park. That could be on the coast of California on the San Andreas Fault. That's just recently has come back up in news again. What could possibly happen there?
Now you said you said that there's almost 900 activities that have been reported at Yellowstone
just since June 15th.
Now there's an article by Newsweek, and it says at the time a spokesperson for USGS told Newsweek that activity appeared to be slowly winding down, adding that no other geological activity has been detected. Mm-hmm. However, in a newly released statement about the ongoing swarm, seismologists from the University of Utah said 878 events have been recorded. So why would they say it's slowly winding down if it's almost 900 activities reported?
That could mean it's slowly winding down from almost 900 to probably 500, But it's like your dad says, I think it's wise for everybody to take heed, to take caution. I'm not saying to not go and visit, but, be wise about it.
Yeah. Yes, like you said, this is a super volcano. And if this thing went off, it would affect like half the United States.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They said up to 800 miles away, if that volcano goes off, it's going to send ash and it's going to cover and possibly block out the sun, which then would in turn affect crops growing, farmland, culture, and obviously, starvation.
Actually, Mark 13:24 says something about this. It says, but in those days after that tribulation, the sun will be darkened and the moon will not give its light. That's what the Bible says. And this is the type of event that could make something like that happen. It says right here in an article by Science Vibe that there's enough magma beneath Yellowstone to fill the Grand Canyon 14 times over.
Actually,
wow.
the type of volcano this is called a cauldron volcano, and what it is, it's a big mass right under the earth. So it's not it's not an actual mountain or anything. It's actually a cauldron under the actual land itself. That's why when you walk on the land around there, it's hot because it's literally right under. It's not a mountain. It's called a cauldron, and there's a lot of volcanic magma under that area.
Wow.
I have another report here. It says earthquakes threat keeps rising as scientists learn more about seismic faults. If you drive about 100 miles east-northeast of San Diego, you'll come to the Salton Sea, a quasi-oasis whose surface is glassy, but do not be fooled. Beneath the seafloor lies strands of the southern San Andreas Fault, 340-mile system that could rupture all the way to Monterey County. So they're saying that if that goes off, that could be a big one.
Yeah. Well, actually, that quake area is actually called a slipstream earthquake area, where actually it's pressure. Like we should talk about pressure of the ages.
Yeah.
It's actually pressure, and one day that pressure is going to eventually slip.
Yeah.
And that's how the earthquake works in the San Andreas area.
And from that movie, the San Andreas, they depict California, like the coast of it, sitting like a shelf. That if the San Andreas goes one day, if that fault line breaks, that it could just break off and slide off into the ocean.
It literally slips. It's called a and so it slips right off and just falls into the ocean.
James, with all this information you have, what would you say to people who are going to visit Yellowstone National Park?
I'd probably say be cautious. Also, you visit the USGS website. I go all the time. See if there's a lot of more activity than usual happening. If there's more activity in the earthquake realm, you can actually look it up and see how many are going. I would not visit there during high earthquake activities. If you see it getting a little lower, maybe it's more of a better chance to go there. I want to visit it one day. It's a beautiful park. But once again, look at the activity that's going on, and that's usgs.com if you want to visit that place.
The thing is, these things should not surprise us because these are the things that the Bible talks about. And the revelation is always relevant. And with things that seem to be exponentially speeding up towards the end times, we have so many things happening, even here in our own country with our laws being passed. And John, we recently had a few laws passed, one in particular called Kate's Law.
Yeah.
Can you explain to the people who may not know what Kate's Law is?
A matter of fact, Kate's Law was just passed yesterday.
Yes.
A matter of fact, there was another bill attached to that one that recently passed. But what it would initially do is put more tools in the hands of law enforcement, ICE agents to be able to do their jobs. Because what has been happening is Kate's Law, was named after Kate Steinle, and she was murdered in San Francisco because of an illegal immigrant who came across the border multiple times. They said at least 5 times. He had been deported, and he came back, and he'd been deported. But ICE, the last time, ICE had never picked him up, which they were supposed to do. So I think there's going to be a lot more accountability being put on ICE agents to make sure that they do their job. And the punishments are going to be increasingly more significant against them. So the bill had passed 257 to 157, and 1 Republican voted no, and 24 Democrats actually voted in favor of it. Now, I think this goes for national security of the United States to keep our citizens protected. I think we need to know who's in here, and those that don't need to be here, those that keep getting convicted of crimes, there needs to be a specific punishment for those people.
Absolutely. And our president just now got passed a travel ban to 6 primarily Muslim countries, but that is allowing us to be able to monitor who comes in and out of our country. And a lot of these people are coming through our southern border from the Mexico region. James, do you have anything to say about immigration and what we should do in that area?
Yeah, the thing is as Christians also, and as just people of the world, of America, we want a melting pot. We love people, different people being here. But the thing is, we want people that have good people, and if they want to come here the right way, then that's fine. But the thing is, I welcome anyone with open arms. I'm just, what I'm thinking is, and now, this travel ban, what it can do, it can pause everything that's going on for a while. Pause it. Let's figure out better ways we can bring people in here, and then we can open our country back up.
We are supposed to welcome with open arms, but we must vet.
Yes.
We must know who is coming into our country because we don't know their intentions, whether they're good or whether they're evil.
Yeah, just like gun laws or anyone coming in here, we need a vet. We need to figure out who's getting things, who's getting items, who's coming here, and just like any American.
Now, did you guys hear last night as the new ban went into effect? A lot of lawyers were at the airports there in New York City and making sure that people that were exiting the country, that they had the right legal action, that things... Basically, I thought it was so interesting because it was very peaceful. There hasn't been a lot of peacefulness going on in our country, whether it's across Twitter or whether it's across, people just communicating back and forth, the media. There's just been a lot of harsh statements made towards one another, but I was happy to see that it went very smoothly, the first, few hours of this travel ban being in effect, which something else President Trump dealing with immigrants is he also strengthened basically put a ban against sanctuary cities to where they can't get grants. Now, I don't think there should be, shall I say, a hideout for people that are committing crimes.
Now, can you explain to the people who may not know, what is a sanctuary city?
Basically, take Chicago, for example. They're a sanctuary city. Parts of New York have declared themselves as sanctuary cities, and it's where people can go and they resist ICE agents. They're not going to help you. Matter of fact, they've even sent out where you can sign this form saying that we won't work with ICE agents. So, and the thing I don't understand, if it's an executive order coming down from the president of the United States, who has the authority to sidestep that? Who has the authority? I don't think anyone does.
Absolutely. You mentioned Chicago, and actually President Trump tweeted around 5 o'clock this morning, and this is what he said. He said, crimes and killings in Chicago have reached such epidemic proportions that I am sending in federal help. 1,714 shootings in Chicago this year, and we've just peaked the half-year point.
Yeah.
Like you said, we need to have better vetting on our gun control.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, in this areas, like I've been to Chicago. It's a beautiful place, but if you step into the wrong area, the wrong street, something bad most likely is going to happen. And the thing is, yes, we should, vetting, but also, yes, Trump sending these people in is needed, I think.
Yes, and with these 2 laws passed, it's really President Trump fulfilling 2 of his campaign promises, which was to take care of these sanctuary cities, get rid of them, because the idea of them is absolutely absurd. We have laws for a reason, laws not just for fun, laws to protect us. And the same thing with immigration. There are laws for a reason. Why are we arguing about whether we should follow the law or not? I mean, that's why there's laws for a reason.
Yes.
Now, John, just for those wondering, can you tell us those laws again one more time and what they were passed by?
So right now we had Kate's law that passed, and that was 157 to 257 in favor. And then we had the sanctuary cities, the ban passed 228 to 195. So I think that was a big win for Trump last week here.
Absolutely. I just read one of Trump's tweets, and while we're on that topic, Trump's tweets, what do you guys think about his latest tweets?
I admire President Trump for being able to come out and speak directly to the public without it being tainted or twisted. He can speak directly to the citizens of the United States. But I do not condone some of the things that he's recently said toward the hosts and co-hosts of MSNBC and their show.
Esther, what do you think about Trump's tweets?
I think as president, he's held to a higher standard than the average American. And I think that although he has this platform where he can speak to the average American just like without holding a press conference, and he can really just give his ideas, he needs to be responsible with it. And if you have a problem with MSNBC, it's not with the co-host. She's just doing what she was, she's doing her job. And the narrative, if you have a problem with the narrative, it's not coming from the co-host. You should never attack one of the hosts of the TV show. I think, especially like disrespect, like that's the only thing. I think as president, you have to be held to a higher standard, and no matter how much you admire and respect someone, you still have to call it out when they do something wrong.
Cora, what do you think about Trump's tweets?
I have a little bit of a different perspective. I know that when President Trump first started tweeting, there were a lot of journalists that had a problem with it because they're saying, well, hey, I mean, it's basically like a small little press release that he's releasing every day that doesn't go through journalists. And that's the whole thing about social media that is so interesting, is that you can be so personal with someone larger than life, with a celebrity, and it's like they're messaging you directly. And I do think that, the president is held to a higher standard. I totally agree with that. But the thing is that I think that sometimes, when we make a tweet, sometimes we're so reactionary and we're making a tweet without necessarily having the full context. But I think that that's the reason, that's the thing though with President Trump. He sees that there is bad things going on in the government, bad things going on in journalism right now. And I may be wrong on this, but the way I see it, he's seeing that these things are happening, but nothing's being done about it, and no one's speaking up about it. So he resorts to tweeting about it, and this is the way he's getting to the American people. And frankly, it's working.
I agree with you on some parts, but there's also a point where we speak about respectfully disagreeing with someone. Just like with Kathy Griffin, we talk about all these people that might not like Trump, that you should be able to respectfully disagree. What happened to respectfully disagreeing with someone? And calling her out on her plastic surgery is not respectfully disagreeing with her, and it's not even targeting the narrative and what he was angry about.
Now, you know what? I do agree. We should respectfully disagree. There should be a different way of going about it, but I definitely do think that there is a big difference between calling someone out on that and cutting their head off.
Yes.
What do you think?
I personally, I'm middle road with both you guys. The thing is, I do think that he needs to be responsible with the tweets. Also no personal attacks on anybody, but on institutions, on situations like that, yes, I think he should, on certain institutions that he feels that are against him, maybe he can say something about it. I don't think a personal attacks are the best way to go. But once again, like Grandpa Jim said, like the fireside chats,
Yes.
it's kind of like fireside chats where he can communicate directly with his audience and his people that voted for him, and outside of that also. But once again, yes, I agree with S on the aspect of make sure you respect in a sense. Attack, you can not even just attack, but comment on a corporation, a company, or a situation. But I would be careful about attacking single people, though.
Now, the thing is, you may not agree with everything our president does, but he is still our president of the United States.
That's
so we
right.
still need to keep him in our prayers and pray that God guides him in every single thing that he does, because at the end of the day, he is the voice for the American people.
Yes, and those are his 5 favorite words to hear, is I am praying for you. And I've heard that from 2 separate sources now. One of them, Pastor Ramiro Pena, who visited the Jim Bakker show not too long ago.
Now, one of the big things happening right now is the reason people love Donald Trump's tweets is because it's like what they say is it's straight from the horse's mouth.
That's right.
Now, with a lot of fake news going around right now, that's why people can appreciate his tweeting. Now, it does sometimes, from your perspective, gets out of hand, but there's a lot of fake news cycling right now, CNN being one of those things. John, what do you think about CNN and quote-unquote fake news?
Well, I think there's a lot of people there to be held accountable. Right now, what we're seeing in the news is that the CNN news network is being exposed for some faulty information that they've been putting out. And the funny thing is they keep taking it for a vote, and the information that they're putting out on the Russian narrative keeps winding up with nothing in it. So what I don't understand is why they keep pushing this Russian narrative when multiple people on the stand before the Senate House Committee, there was nothing there. Matter of fact, we do have a B-roll that I want you to check out, B-roll 2029. So if we can go ahead and roll that real quick, let's do it.
I'd like to introduce you to CNN's supervising producer, John Bonifield, in Atlanta.
So you believe like the Russia thing's a little crazy, right?
Even if Russia was trying to swing an election, we try to swing their elections. We're in our CIA and doing shit all the time. Like, we're out there trying to manipulate governments. Like, you win because you know the game and you play it right. She didn't play it right.
Then why is CNN constantly like Russia this, Russia that?
Because it's ratings.
Because it's ratings?
Our ratings are incredible right now.
In the month of May, CNN's ratings were significantly higher than they were the year before. The Russia story and Trump have made CNN millions.
Because of
So my boss, I shouldn't say this, my boss a couple days yesterday, we were having a discussion about this dental shoot, and he's like, I just want you to know what we're up against here. And he goes, just to give you some context, President Trump pulled out of the climate accords, and for a day and a half we covered the climate accords, and the CEO of CNN said in our internal meeting, he said, good job everybody covering the climate accords, but we're done with it, let's get back to Russia.
the CEO?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So even the climate accords, he was like, okay, a day or so, but we're moving back to Russia.
I mean, I understand it's all ratings, right?
Oh, it's a business. It's a business. People are like, the media has like an ethical, but all the nice cutesy little ethics that used to get talked about in journalism school, you're just like, that's adorable. That's adorable. Yeah, this is a business, especially cable news. You know, cable news isn't the New York Times, and it's not even like NBC News. I mean, NBC News still gets 20 million viewers a night. Cable news is getting 1 million. So, like they gotta do what they gotta do to make their money, I think. And so I love the news business, but
I find it so
I'm
fascinating.
very cynical about it. At the same time, so are most of my colleagues.
You know, guys, I think that B-roll was extremely interesting. Basically, they're saying that this narrative has been good for business.
Yeah.
Yes, well, one of the things he says in that video, which just gets me, and is he calls journalism ethics they're just considered cute now. And you know me, I'm a student of journalism. I live my life by journalism ethics. And the thing is that there's 2 rules in journalism. 1, make deadline, and 2, tell the truth. And that's the most important one. Tell the truth. That's your only job as the journalist. And the truth does not depend on circumstances. It doesn't depend on advertisers. It doesn't depend on internal or external pressure, like apparently what's happening at CNN. And most of all, it is not determined by your political views.
Now, we have another B-roll of a man, a prominent figure at CNN, saying his thoughts on the Russia story.
You're about to see one of CNN's most prominent left-leaning political commentators in total agreement with President Trump. We think this might be the first time this has ever happened. Maybe it's because he didn't realize he was going to be on television. And as Chris Cuomo has said, sometimes that's when you're the most honest.
Hey, man. We met in Palm Springs a few years back.
Good for you, man. You good?
Yeah. How you been? What are you doing?
Good.
What do you think's going to happen this week? I mean, with the whole Russia thing.
The Russia thing is just a big nothing burger.
Really? You don't think that...
There's nothing there you can do.
Calls it a nothing burger, which I know was a statement that Hillary Clinton made, and I found that, they keep finding out more and more that there's nothing in this story. And the thing is, the more the Democrats and the more they keep pushing this Russian narrative, the more people are going to have to go on the stand. Now, I think that this story actually goes deeper and deeper, because right now we have 3 CNN employees that had to resign. They turned in their resignation over false statements. What they said here is that there was a story reported that Congress was investigating a Russian investment fund with ties to Trump. Now, one, there was no source, no named source with that, and then it did not go through the proper editorial process before it went onto the internet. It didn't go onto TV, but it did go on the internet, which CNN quickly retracted. Now, because of that, CNN was facing a $100 million lawsuit. Now, they caved pretty quickly after that lawsuit came after them. Mm-hmm. But what's happening is the more and more we're finding nothing in this story. So now the most real story that has come out of CNN was with Elmo.
Well, retracting a story is not necessarily making something right. I mean, it's still determined, the thought process of a lot of American people. They still saw that news and maybe considered it true. And that is the responsibility a journalist has, and it's an incredible responsibility. I mean, as a citizen, you don't have the time or the luxury to look into every single thing going on in the government or attend every single government meeting. That's why we have journalists, so that we can be informed in order to vote for our leaders and know what's going on.
Absolutely. It's time that our journalists here in America start standing up for the truth and standing on truth, because if that's not your foundation, then you'll just feed into the lies that are being poured into you.
And you need to find a different job.
Absolutely. Now, Proverbs 6:16 through 19 says something very, very powerful, that there are 7 things that the Lord hates. And John, what is the very first, or what is the first 2 things that the Lord hates?
Well, he doesn't like a lying tongue, and he does not like proud eyes. And I feel like right now that goes to speak with what's going on is false statements, lying about one another to gain ground, to gain finances. God's not going to look on that with happiness or joy.
No. And I think a thing is, we tend to make these media people, the people who share the news with us, almost like superstars in our eyes, where they feel untouchable, so that even if they are lying, it's whatever, because they're somebody.
That's the problem, really. The problem is that we've made, I think we should rejoice and think, oh, journalism is amazing. I love the whole journalist world.
Yes.
But the thing is, it's sad to see, first of all, we shouldn't make them into these superstars, because that's what happens is they get too much power, and then they just want to continue that power. What they should see them as informers, people to inform us and the American people. And I just think that we need to put into a higher standard, as in, what are you guys doing? You're supposed to be the information source of America.
And the rest of that verse says, "And hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked imaginations, feet that are swift in running to mischief, a false witness who speaks lies, and he who sows discord among the brethren. And as Christians, we are called to bring unity. We are not called to sow discords because that is one of the things that the Lord hates. What do you think right now between not only our politics, our Republican, our Democrat, but between our blacks and our whites, what can we do to bring unity so that we aren't sowing discord as Christians?
I think validation. I think there's real issues in the community that need to be validated, and I think the pathway of bringing everybody together is just validating the fact that people have a right to be angry about certain things, that people have a right to feel how they feel, even if you disagree with them. They have a right to do so, as long, So I think that validation is really the road, and then we just have to really pray. I think we're all one blood in Christ, first and foremost, and I think that we forget that sometimes because of outward appearances and things, and people have different experiences in America. Being white and being black is a very different experience. So
I think it's time that Christians get a righteous anger about themselves whenever we see people trying to split up and divide the church.
Mm-hmm. I see that happening. And the thing is, everyone has a story. Every person has a single story. They come from different areas and different backgrounds. And the thing is, as Christians, we are the number one people who are supposed to accept and love everybody through everything. And the thing is, sometimes it's scary nowadays, but it seems like the church is the most vicious sometimes. And we're supposed to be, yes, we're supposed to be critical in some areas, but we're supposed to love first and foremost.
Absolutely.
Yes. I wanted to add one more thing there, discussing CNN. Big
Absolutely.
thing. I feel that it's not necessarily the anchors that we ought to be attacking, because everything comes from the top down. I think, honestly, Jeff Zucker, the CEO of CNN, is probably the one we ought to be questioning. And if he's having troubles coming up with real stories that are out there, he could look into Donna Brazile, Debbie Wasmer, Hillary Clinton. Those three people, we know they actually had manipulated the 2016 election. Now, and that was all through their emails. So if you're having troubles coming up with something to talk about, something to get ratings off of, why don't we talk about that? Why don't we talk about Obama did know, and he testified that he knew about Russian collusion in the 2016 election. Now, that would be interesting to hear from him as to what really happened.
John, can you tell us what the CEO said in an internal meeting with the people from CNN?
Well, basically what he said in their internal meeting, he told everybody that after covering the climate accord after Paris, he said, let's get back to the Russian narrative. So he's still looking for this story to keep unfolding, that people are waiting to find out what happened. But every time they go to it, there's nothing there.
And you said the word narrative, and that's really the key here. And like I said, journalists have this responsibility. They have this information in their hands that you are holding them responsible to tell you truthfully. And that information, they have the power to have a narrative or to tell the truth. Because the truth, like we know in the Bible, the truth will set you free, even if it's not fun to tell, even if it's not the most glamorous, even if it doesn't really necessarily get the ratings you're looking for. The truth will set you free. The truth will set America free, and it will help us unite and heal.
And that's the problem. We're more concerned nowadays about ratings than facts. And that's what true journalism is.
That's right.
Is the facts. Now, we're going to read a few news headlines before we kick off. We only have a few minutes left here with Revelation in the news this time. We're going to go ahead and recover what we covered at the beginning of the show. It says right here from the Science Vibe, fear that a mega quake will set off Yellowstone super volcano. And also there's another headline from Newsweek that says Yellowstone super volcano earthquake swarms reaches 878 events in just 2 weeks.
And there's also good news. Kentucky has publicly signed bill allowing Kentucky public schools to teach the Bible as an optional class. I just think that's wonderful news, the children getting Bible into their heads.
Circa just came out with FBI Chief McCabe faces 3 separate federal inquiries into his behavior on the Russian collusion.
Right here it says CNN facing $100 million lawsuit over botched Russia story.
Right here it says limited nuclear war deplete ozone layer, increasing radiation. This is a very scary thing for the future.
Well, that is what we have. Until next time, this is Revelation in the News.